first statement, which I think is the premise of it all, is that Kendrick's strategy was superior to Drake's. Kendrick went the character assassination route, and he executed that flawlessly. The issue with Drake is that he tried to do it too, but here's the point that a lot of people can't seem to get, or a lot of, I think, the most ardent Drake fans don't seem to understand. Drake doesn't have the social, relational, or even what's the word I'm looking for, moral capital to assassinate someone's character. We know that Drake does sus and weird things. No one associates Kendrick Lamar with doing sus or weird things. So for Drake to try to assassinate his character, he would have to come with a lot of evidence, a lot of proof, and a lot of substance behind his claims. Whereas Kendrick, he just has to rely on all the things that are already out there about Drake. And he did that, and he did it very well. So let's break it down a little bit. First thing I want to point out is that Drake crafted a really good battle plan for Kendrick. I want to say, like, when he did the Family Matters, he knew it was a good one. That's why he kept saying, I got this red button. When I drop it, it's going to bring the coward out of you. He said that on a tailor-made freestyle because he knew it was good. And to be fair, and I got to give it up to Drake, throughout the whole battle, he rapped really well. Push-ups, he was good rapping. Even on the tailor-made track, although I didn't like the AI stuff because I feel like it's disrespectful to Tupac, and I don't want to encourage people to use AI in that way. He was rapping well on that end verse. On Family Matters, he was doing really, really well. Like, a lot of really good tracks. And even on the defensive track, the one at the end where he tried to, like, kind of play defense and just basically say, I'm not a pedophile, and say I'm not going to respond anymore, he was rapping well on there. And he kind of tried to cover up his defensiveness by rapping well. He was rapping well through the whole battle. The issue is that his plan didn't work because his strategy was inferior. And so before I get into that more, I'm going to go into one point that some people have pointed out, but I want to explicitly say it here. Drake made this battle personal when Kendrick told him not to. And obviously you can't make someone follow your rules of battle, but you can warn them. And Kendrick did warn Drake. So Drake immediately brought up Whitney on Push-Ups, which is Kendrick's fiance. Drake said, gotta keep a bodyguard like Whitney, obviously alluding to Kendrick Lamar's fiance. For no reason, by the way. Kendrick never brought that up for Drake. And so, Kendrick said on Euphoria, he said, this is a friendly fade. Let's keep it that way. No need to get personal. I know some stuff that'll make Ghana Wanna look like a saint. So he's saying, Drake, I got stuff to say if you're gonna try to go down this rabbit hole of trying to attack someone's character. So Kendrick warned him, don't get into a character assassination battle with me, you will lose. It was prophetic. And so the issue is, here's my take. This might be a hot take, and I want to know what you all think. Put some comments in the comment section on this. I actually think that Drake would have stood a better chance of winning this battle or putting himself in position to win if he kept it about rapping ability. Because I think from the songs that were released so far, right? Because Kendrick said he has 5 more, right? Drake more consistently had strong rap performances, which is funny to say considering how lyrically dense Kendrick can get, but that's not the route he took because of the strategy he had. But Drake in the 3 tracks, the non-bait track included, so Push-Ups, Family Matters, and what's the name of the last one? I keep forgetting the name of. See, that Kendrick's strategy really took the sales out of Drake's tracks, but the last one, the Heart Part 6, he was rapping really well, like, throughout it, right? And so hearing that Drake rapped well, right, that was the point. He made it personal, but he didn't have to because he was rapping really well, and he had a better chance of people saying Drake won because he out-rapped Kendrick. Whether you believe that or not, he had a better chance of making that the conversation by doing that. So going back to it, like I said, Kendrick said, this is a friendly fade. Keep it that way, right? He then repeated that warning on 616 in LA, right? Where he said, like, don't do this. Like, I will come after you. What if OVO's working for me? I got stuff in your camp. Drake didn't listen, and he dropped Family Matters. And to be fair, it was great, but he mentioned Dave Free and Whitney and the domestic violence allegations, which there's no proof of that either. They both said some big things. The big criminal accusations, they both didn't provide any proof for, which I'm kind of grateful for, in the sense that unless it really happened. If it really happened, then they need to, go to jail. Legal, all that thing needs to happen. But if they're just making statements, then it's like, yeah, I hope that none of those things actually happen. Like Drake, I hope he was not actually, doing, physically intimate things with young girls, and I hope Kendrick Lamar was not doing domestic violence with his wife. To be fair, I don't necessarily believe that Kendrick Lamar is doing domestic violence. There's some proof that Drake is physically intimate with younger girls, but he does do weird things with them, which is not a good sign for him. But with that said, the reason why I bring all this up is that Drake mentioned them, got very, very personal. But it seems like Kendrick knew it was coming. And this is the interesting thing that people seem to overlook or not talking enough about. I think Kendrick does indeed have someone in Drake's camp who's talking. Now Drake confirmed that. I think he said the people you get your information from are clowns. So there are people that are giving Kendrick information. Now whether or not Drake has some type of plan where he's manipulating them and he can feed some false information, I'm not quite so sure that's the case, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But either way, there really are people who are exposing stuff, and I think that's why Kendrick knew Drake was coming with a personal track, and which is why he pre-recorded Meet the Grams, because as soon as Drake dropped Family Matters, Kendrick, like 20 minutes later, took the wind out of the sails of that track and dropped Meet the Grams. Like, he took the wind from the sails, and then Kenny kept going. So, like, what was great about this is that he made sure people stopped talking about Family Matters immediately. He knew Drake was going to go personal. He warned him not to. His strategy was to cut off the enemy's attack immediately and then strike again while they're weak. He did that. He followed it up with Not Like Us, which is the fastest rap song to ever hit 100 million streams in 9 days. Like, it just breaks record after record, broke Drake's singles record, broke God's Plan. God's Plan was the other song that had a record similar, and he just broke it. So he literally just kind of owning Drake in different areas, and like, he basically had people, as a lot of people are saying, dancing on Drake's grave, because a lot of people believe that Meet the Grams, and I will say this, I can say this, while not superior to Family Matters and rapping, as a matter of fact, I put them track to each other. Family Matters is a better I guess, like, rap song, I guess you would say, and it's a really good diss too. But Meet the Grams was menacing. It created a sort of aura, an atmosphere, and that in the content that he talked about, he's talking to Drake's family. It was very artistic. Kendrick took dissing in a very different way. Like, he showcased different skill in multiple areas, and this particular track was something that I don't usually hear in diss tracks, but he basically said, I'm going to talk to your family, break down your character completely, and he made the conversation about what he had to say about who Drake was as a person, rather than how good Drake rapped on Family Matters and about whatever allegations he brought up. So he immediately cut that out with some menacing track, and then he followed up with a really good bouncy diss track that had people dancing, and it's a club song. It has a West Coast vibe. He kind of brought out he did the Pac flip. He brought everything out that you expected him to do in a traditional rap battle, the rebuttals, and even spoke to what Drake had to say on Family Matters. When Drake really messed up when he said, it's kind of crazy. He really messed up when he said he rapping like he trying to free the slaves. And that's a weird thing to say. It's a weird thing to say as a Canadian man with a little bit of black ancestry in him. It's a weird thing to say to an American black man, because one, to all the black people in America, we're not slaves. Ancestors were formerly enslaved people, but we are not slaves. And it's like, why would you say? There's so many other things you could say. You could say Kendrick raps like he's trying to be Martin Luther King. And Drake's clever. He could have rapped that in a very clever way and made a nice punchline, some slick bars as he was doing throughout the battle. But instead, he chose to use this analogy of slaves. It's a stupid and weird thing to say. And Kendrick hit him hard on that in the third verse of Not Like Us, when he says he doubled down on it, calling us some slaves. Let me put y'all on game. And then he proceeds to give a history lesson and explain how Drake's doing the same thing that the colonizers did to the people in Atlanta. And Drake really walked himself into a track. He really was not as calculated, which is crazy, because Kendrick said, I calculate that you're not as calculated at the beginning of Euphoria. Everything Kendrick said, weirdly enough, seemed to be coming true. And so these disses really hit hard after the previous exchanges. And then you get Drake's follow-up, right? Which nobody's talking about. That's just how good Kendrick's Not Like Us was. That's just how much of an impact it made culturally. Drake's follow-up was too late, because this is the thing. He said he fed false information. Now, if you fed Kendrick false information, it could be true. It could be. I tend to lean that I'm not so sure on that, because you should have undercut Kendrick's undercut. Kendrick's undercut was Meet the Grams. You should have immediately cut his undercut by following up with the Heart Part 6. You waited a whole extra day and was very defensive and tried to deflect things. That waiting makes this seem less trustworthy, and coming from somebody who doesn't have the credibility of being a trustworthy person, now we can't trust you. Kendrick already called that out. Why would we trust you? You lied about everything else. And so here's the thing. If it is true that you fed false information, even if it is true, you messed up. You fumbled that bag because you did not play the strategy the right way. And I'm going to keep coming back to this. At the end of the day, Kendrick's strategy was better than Drake's strategy. Drake should have undercut Kendrick, but he did it. Drake already has a credibility issue. And so to make it worse, he seemed defensive in the Heart Part 6 rather than confident in being a confident counterpuncher like he was earlier in the battle when he knew, oh, I got some stuff that's coming, which was Family Matters. He was confident then, teasing Kendrick, taunting Kendrick. And then his nerves were clearly rattled because that monologue at the end of the song cemented it. He was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to dish you no more. You probably got like 10 more songs, you know. And he basically said, I'm not going to respond to him. You were giving up. A lot of people say, how did he wave the white flag? That monologue at the end is waving the white flag. He's basically saying, if Kendrick drops, I'm not responding. I don't know how you can say Drake won in that contest. Even if you want to say, let's say you want to say this. A person wants to say, I think Drake rapped better than Kendrick throughout the battle. Okay, sure enough. Let's say he did that. Let's say you agree with that, and let's say that, and therefore I want to give him the victory. I don't think you can do that in this rap battle because Drake made it personal. He made it about character, and he tried to assassinate Kendrick's character. He failed. He lost the culture. He lost popularity. The crowd gives the battle to Kendrick, and Kendrick has more tracks. If all that is true, Drake can't win this battle. His strategy was foiled, and he has no more ammo for Kendrick Lamar's stated 10 more stocks, or 5 more stocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5. How many stocks do I really have in stock? I said it backwards. So, he says, how many stocks do I really have in stock? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5. He gave us 4 tracks, so he has 6 more, I guess. And so Kendrick's strategy, once again, I'll say it, was superior. Kendrick executed character assassination to a higher degree and level than Drake could. Drake was rattled, and he could not perform it the way that people thought he could. Therefore, Drake lost this battle. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. Put it in the comment section below. But when I lay it all out like this, I don't know how you can see it differently. Thank you. I'll see you next time.